Welcome, everybody, to the Big Sky Now podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josh Amick, and we have our full panel back this week, Ian, Mark, Fritz, and John. So we're going to get right into what we're expecting for this upcoming slate of games. We are 1 week away from Big Sky Conference play, so a lot of big games, teams possibly going into Big Sky play with the winning streak. So with that being said, out of these teams going into Big Sky play, Ian, who do you think is most poised to go into the Big Sky Conference play with a little bit of a winning streak, a little bit of momentum before they play a lot of familiar opponents?
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the board for this week, there's obviously a couple of answers that you're like, okay, yeah, this team should win, but I want to go with UC Davis. I think they're going to complete the Big Sky sweep over Utah Tech this weekend. Obviously, Montana State and NAU already beat them earlier this year. I just kind of look at their second half comeback that they had last week. I think they're going to take a look at that, look to come out a little stronger this week. And I'm kind of projecting a big game for Len Larson out of the backfield there.
I've got a few teams that I feel like will take care of business this weekend. Montana State, of course, I feel like is going to just take care of Mercyhurst like no problem. Sacramento State, I also feel like is going to be taking a 2-game winning streak in after taking on finally some equal competition with Nichols last week and getting out of the FBS games that they've scheduled. I also feel like Montana is gonna pick up another win. It's gonna be a tough one because it's a ranked team in Western Carolina, but at home they had a great showing last week against Morehead State, so I think that they'll continue that. And one team that I feel like we need to watch this weekend will be NAU going up against UIW, Incarnate Word. They've been playing really well so far this season. They took Arizona, made it just only lost by 12 to a ranked team out of the Big 12 now. But a tough game against UIW this week before conference play. We'll see if the Lumberjacks are for real.
Yeah, you look at Montana State. Obviously, they're the only 3-0 team, so they're the only ones with a chance to go in undefeated. And I think that obviously they will. Idaho got a little bit of they got UC Davis next week, so I don't think they'll look ahead to them. But they got a pretty good Abilene Christian team down there running the air raid offense and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a tough game, but I think with their defense, they should be able to go in on a roll too next week.
Yeah, I would go with MSU. That's the easy pick, but they get Mercyhurst this weekend, and then I think they get Idaho State there and Northern Colorado at home, and they're just playing great football from what I've seen. I liked how U of M was setting up before the season began. And then came that loss in North Dakota, which maybe brings them back into the pack. And Western Carolina had NC State on the ropes in week 1. Probably could have won, should have won, one of those deals. And I don't like Idaho's schedule very much because they play UC Davis and MSU on the road back to back. And man, they've passed every test so far. I don't like their schedule, but I think they're still going to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, that's a good call. Idaho has played some tough opponents. 2 more teams this week are facing FBS opponents. This is the last week of that, I believe. So we got Portland State facing Boise State and Eastern Washington playing Nevada. Do the Vikings or Eagles have a shot at all this weekend, Mark?
The Vikings, no, not at all. Unless something happens to Boise State, like maybe they come down with like Pertussis, which is what Portland State came down with last week, some of their players. So otherwise, no, Boise State's going to probably run it up on them and get a lot of kids in and do to them what WSU did to them. Eastern at Nevada, maybe, if they can. I mean, Nevada's not a good team yet. I mean, Jeff Choate, former Montana Western star, former St. Mary's High star, Post Falls football coach and AD, and Montana State coach. He's the one that kind of got them back into the top echelon of FCS. He's the Nevada coach, and I think he's going to get that thing going. Not sure what conference he's going to get it going in eventually, but I think it's going to be interesting. That we keep thinking Eastern's going to win one of these games, and maybe this is the week.
I don't see either one of our Big Sky teams pulling off the W. I think Eastern has a better chance, but like Mark mentioned, former Montana Western star Jeff Choate, former MSU head coach Jeff Choate, he's going to get it going there sooner than later. and I think they'll pick up a win this weekend. And as for Boise State and whoever they play, the cannon fodder they play, yeah, that's all Boise State.
John, you echo those same sentiments?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we have to pick one that's going to have a better shot, it's going to be Eastern against Nevada. Nevada has had a tough time closing out games this year, but I feel like Portland State just kind of needs to focus on getting healthy before conference play starts with this one. Of course, their game last week was canceled due to that pertussis outbreak within the team. So, and then they're going up against a potential Heisman frontrunner in Ashton Genty, who's going to run the ball all over them. They gave up 70 points to Washington State already this year. So I feel like Boise State's gonna be breaking the scoreboard at some points.
Yeah, and I'm kind of on the same page as everyone else. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Eastern, but I'm little preview for our pick segment. I'm not going to pick Eastern to win.
All right. After their impressive win last week, Northern Arizona plays a top 15 FCS opponent with Incarnate Word. Should UIW be on upset watch, Fritz?
Yeah, they should. I don't know if I can pick the Lumberjacks, but they've been playing well under their new coach. I think I kind of questioned it when they dismissed their old coach, but Brian Wright seems to have been playing pretty good football. He's a former Bobcat OC, which I kind of forgotten in the blur of the 2010s. And he's got a quarterback named Pennington. No relation to Chad, but he's really good. And maybe not as good as Chad, but he's good. And looks like just a stable of good running backs. So I think he's building something pretty good down there in Flagstaff. And yeah, they have a chance.
And are you think NAU has a shot this weekend against UIW?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a shot, especially if they can catch, they're catching UIW coming off of back-to-back top 10 losses. And both of those games were fairly close, if I remember correctly. If they can kind of catch them, maybe reeling a little bit like that, replicate a similar game plan to what they had last week. I don't think they'll put up 500 yards again on offense, but maybe catch them slipping a couple plays. I think they should definitely can't overlook NAU. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it should be a close game, I would think. UIW should be a slight favorite being at home. The other thing about UIW is they're kind of one of those new abbreviation teams where you look at it and you go, well, what team is that? What team is that? My first thought, I look at UIW and my first thought was the United Auto Workers, but
Right.
That's not totally right. So I'm glad you put Incarnate Word in the run sheet so we know who UIW actually is.
I do want to mention that I did that because the first week, me being new to this area, I had no idea who they were either, and I had to look it up. So I was like, I'm just going to do it for my own well-being. But yeah, go ahead.
I remember UIW from I believe they were in Fargo against North Dakota State the first time that game day went to Fargo. That's the only reason that I think I remember UIW. But I think that this is going to be one of the games to watch this weekend out of the FCS. I think NAU's been playing great early on this season. Ty Pennington, Player of the Week this last week on the offensive side in the Big Sky. They're going to have to do a lot to keep up with UIW, though, who, like Ian mentioned, they've come off of a pair of top 10 matchups. They played number 1 South Dakota State. They lost by 21, but that game was a 7-point game in the fourth quarter. So they've definitely got the talent to keep up with the big boys. So it's going to be a real test for NAU on the road. But I feel like it's going to be one to watch.
Yeah, I echo that. I think out of the matchups this weekend, a lot of kind of gimmies, but that game and then the Idaho Abilene Christian, I think, are the two games that have the potential to be really good matchups. And I'm also curious about Northern Colorado, see if they get their first win on the season. Speaking of wins on the season, my man Fritz is leading all of us with his picks. He is 31-4. Everyone else is 30-5 besides me. We'll not get into that record because I'm going to bounce back this week. So, Fritz, take us on with what you got going this weekend. Who are your picks?
Okay, well, I'll start with the Grizz beating Western Carolina. I'll take Nevada beating Eastern. Bobcats way over Mercyhurst. I'm going to pick Idaho State over Southern Utah. I will pick Incarnate Word over NEU. I'll pick Weber over Northwestern. In Natchitoches, Louisiana. I don't know if they even came home. They were in Texas last week. Now they're back in Louisiana. Sac State over Texas A&M-Commerce. My upset special now is UNC over Stephen F. Austin. I'll pick Idaho over Abilene Christian. Boise way over Portland State, Davis over Tech, and I want to make one more prediction. First week of December, McNeese State plays the Grizz in the playoffs. Sharpie.
Right.
Big Cliff's coming back. You're all invited. Come on over.
All right. Ian, putting you second just because it's a three-way tie, but you weren't here last week, so give us a fresh picks for this week.
I'll take second place. We'll go with that. Mine are mostly similar. Got a couple different though. I've got Montana over Western Carolina, Nevada over Eastern, MSU over Mercyhurst, Idaho State over Southern Utah, Incarnate Word over NAU, Weber State over Northwestern State, Sac State over Texas A&M-Commerce, Stephen F. Austin beating Northern Colorado, Idaho beating Abilene Christian, and then Boise State beating Portland State, and UC Davis beating Utah Tech.
All right, John, I know Ian tried to slip that in real quick, but you are tied for second too, so you can bring us home with your picks.
All right. Well, I got Montana over Western Carolina. I'm excited to be down in Missoula seeing that one myself. I've got Nevada taking on Eastern or beating Eastern. I've got Montana State easily staying undefeated over Mercyhurst. I have Southern Utah taking down Idaho State on the road, unlike these other two. The NAU UIW game, it's kind of a who am I feeling in the moment, but I'm going to go with UIW to win that one at home. Weber State, I feel like, is going to get right against Northwestern State. Don't think Northwestern State's going to let the offense put up 87 like they did last week with South Alabama, but I feel like Weber State will get it done. Sac State is going to beat Texas A&M-Commerce. Stephen F. Austin over Northern Colorado. Idaho will get their win over Abilene Christian. Boise State's going to roll, and my little side prediction for that one is I think Ashton Genty runs for 5 touchdowns against the Vikings. And then Davis will complete the Big Sky sweep over Utah Tech, who I think is going to be tired of playing Big Sky schools.
5 touchdowns might be generous. He's so.
All right, Mark, what are your picks?
All righty, I got Montana beating Western Carolina. I got Nevada beating Eastern in a toss-up. Montana State beating Mercyhurst. I got Southern Utah winning at Idaho State.
Okay.
We'll see. That's another toss-up. I got the United Auto Worker. Incarnate Word beating Northern Arizona. Got Weber winning at Northwestern State. Sac State winning at Texas A&M-Commerce. Stephen F. Austin holding off Fritz's Northern Colorado team. Idaho winning at Abilene Christian. Boise State eking out a win over Portland State. And UC Davis beating Utah Tech.
All right. I had a lot of similar picks, but after everyone was on Incarnate Word, I think I'm going to go the other way. So I'll start with that one. I'm picking Northern Arizona to get that win. Then I have the Grizz over Western Carolina. Nevada taking care of Eastern Washington. Montana State taking care of Mercyhurst. Idaho State beating Southern Utah. Weber State over Northwestern State. I agree with John. I think they bounce back this weekend. Sacramento State over Texas A&M-Commerce. I got Stephen F. Austin over Northern Colorado. Idaho over Abilene Christian. Boise State will handle Portland State. And then UC Davis will get this Big Sky sweep. So that's going to wrap up this episode of Big Sky Now. Thank you for everyone for your patience. And join us next week where Big Sky Conference play officially starts. We'll be able to go into a lot more depth about these teams since they'll be playing head-to-head. So thank you for everyone for joining us. I want to thank my panel as always. And until next week, take care. Thank you for joining us.